Hey yo, Mewsik, I'm gonna murder this track.
Oh yeah, music is gonna be so good, man! I'm so pumped. I'm excited.
No, I'm gonna butcher it. It's gonna be awful. It's gonna be disgusting. Like.
This is awkward.
Dude, I'm gonna burn this track.
Oh, dude, right? You got some really good lyrics. You're like ready to put this stuff down.
No. Like, I'm gonna burn all evidence of us ever doing this. This is gonna be the worst thing anybody's ever heard.
Oh, well. Jeez, I'm sorry.
Let's just get this over with, okay? Take this hat off. Let's go.
Organized crime was booming. During the 1920s, people were craving beer. They could sell plenty. Selling was not the main problem though, it was getting the alcohol. They had to be really tricky. It wasn't as easy as making a call. Them gangsters has to bootleg. It's a lot like smuggling. This stuff be where it at. Them cops be struggling. Bootlegging was like smuggling beer from other places. Usually out from Canada, they were the closest in that case. One way of bootlegging was using a train of trucks. They transported the alcohol on ground, safely if they had the luck. Another method was by boats, transporting from across the sea. Ain't like Lonely Island though, had to be careful from any foes. Other gangsters were always trying to steal, had to be armed with guns of steel. Thieves would be driving smaller boats, so they could chase down and capture other gangsters' illegal imports. Those thieves were crafty creatures. Because of the trouble on the water, the Coast Guard grew like hella. From hundreds to thousands, they became gangsta killers. Well, not really killers, but bootlegging stoppers. Trucks were just as dangerous too, much easier to overpower. Easy to chase as well. Truck drivers couldn't be cowards. There was another way too, to get liquor and beer. Gangsters could own their own breweries, those were that for near beer. But Day was making the real stuff, illegal in plain sight. But cops could investigate, in which they couldn't put up a fight. This near beer stuff had only 0.5% alcohol, not enough to get your drink on. Nobody was having a ball. Once gangs had their supply, they needed to meet the demand, but they just couldn't sell to individual people. They needed a way to sell to masses of people at once. So they established speakeasies. This idea was made by no dunce. Underground bars were for drinking. They sold easily and freely. Gangs spread their bars everywhere. Before a rival gang got here or there, gang influence was too hard to stop. John Torrio was a gang boss who ran Chicago so well that his gang was in heaven, not hell. He bribed police and the judges so that no gangster was sent to jail for too long of a time, and they all received proper bail. He also had an influence with other gangs of the city. Each gang was given a territory, and they had to respect the boundaries. It eliminated competition and violence, and made it easier to rule the streets. This system would later be put on a larger scale across the nation among all the gangs. They made bank like a boss. When this system was put in place and respected by the gangs, there was much less violence and bloodshed, but there were still times of war. Al Capone, for example, was a gangster down to his core. He had his men armed with Tommy guns, which were dangerous submachine guns. On a brief side note, Tommy guns could fire 800 bullets per minute. Within a few seconds, 10 could be dead. When gangsters caused too much trouble for him or gangs as a whole, Al Capone would step in and give them a few holes. But then this leads to retaliation, and Capone himself would be attacked. Then it would erupt into more fighting until more gangsters were whacked. One of the bloodiest incidents is called the Valentine's Day Massacre. Capone's men dressed up like police officers and pretended to do a routinely nuisance raid and lined up some opposing gang members. But when their backs were turned, they were mowed down by Tommy guns. Just in the 1920s, 400 deaths were recorded due to all the gang violence, not including the unrecorded. Because of all the murders, Police funding increased by $11.4 million, but I bet you can see why. The total amount spent on penal institutions increased by 1,000%. That's a friggin' crapload. But stopping gangsters is money well spent. The biggest problem for law enforcement was that they could not arrest crime lords. Al Capone, for example, was never convicted for gang-related crimes. Gangsters weren't just criminals, they were also employees of the prohibition business and gave their bosses loyalty. Ah, that's about it. Let me just let these beats run off for a little while. Let them soak into your eardrums. Swag, swag, swag. Say swag. Feel like a thug with these headphones on.
So as you can see, Prohibition started organized crime, or at least their success. And what Prohibition started was a major influence on ending Prohibition. Swag, say swag. Yeah, I made that one. Damn. It's just like, yeah. You want to see how you dunk? This is how you dunk.